Tonight on Denver 7 News at 6.
It's a reminder that there are wild and dangerous animals in Colorado.
Wildlife officers tracked the bears that killed a woman near Durango.
And that is not something that we can allow to happen again.
Then find themselves fending off attacks of another nature.
More rain and snow across the state tonight. I'll let you know when the warmer weather comes back.
Plus the take-home test that kept a school going in person.
We were kind of building the plane as we flew it.
And what happens if we don't reach herd immunity?
I think that's the worry, is that these huge surges that we see periodically are going to continue to occur.
Good evening and thanks for watching Denver 7. I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Shannon Ogden. For only the fourth time in 50 years, bears have killed someone in Colorado. The victim, a 39-year-old woman, attacked while walking her dogs just north of Durango.
Wildlife officers tracked and put down the bears involved, although some have argued the animals should have been relocated instead.
Parks and Wildlife say that was never an option as far as they're concerned, and it never will be one. Here is Denver 7's Gary Brode.
A rare tragedy in Colorado has some questioning the methods of Colorado Parks and Wildlife when it comes to euthanizing wild animals.
That is not something that we can allow to happen again. So those animals are put down.
An adult bear and 2 cubs were put down following the death of a 39-year-old woman in Durango on Friday. A necropsy found human remains inside the mother bear and one of her yearlings. As we go 360 on the topic of euthanasia, we hear from a bear attack survivor, your concerns, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
It's a reminder that there are wild and dangerous animals in Colorado, and black bears. This can happen. It's rare.
Jason Clay with CPW says his agency has been getting a lot of comments on their social media questioning the actions of euthanizing these 3 bears. On the CPW Facebook page, Julia asks, how are they still a threat in their own home? Clay explains after the tragedy Friday, if those bears are not put down, the chances of another human encounter go up.
Particularly our learned behavior and how they can get food and yearlings, cubs, they learn how to find food from their mothers. And so this was a case where we could not allow that to continue.
The bears were found hours after the woman's death. All 3 were killed. Clay explains why the bears were put down before the necropsy, giving details to us that we will not share out of respect for the victim's family.
All signs that we had at that time pointed to this being a bear attack. And in addition to that, greater search of the area did not reveal any other animals, predators around. This was the evidence that we had.
This is the bear claw.
Back in 2019, John Johnson and his partner, George Field, had to fight off a mother bear inside their home.
It's not one of those situations that I totally relive. The way I know that George still gets somewhat emotional when she has to recount the story.
The bear that attacked the couple was euthanized. Johnson calls the bear's death a tough situation, but one that must be done.
Basically a powerful and wild animal that has learned to open doors and come in, things of this nature. Suppose that had been a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old boy or girl that was standing there by the door.
One of the cubs was found and relocated. On CPW's Facebook page, Rodney wanted the same thing for the bears in Durango, something Clay says simply was not possible.
One, Colorado law does not allow for us to bring wild animals into captivity. Relocation efforts are not foolproof, but bears oftentimes will return many, many miles to where they were relocated from because they go back to where they know they can get food.
Clay says CPW is constantly looking at ways to improve how situations like this are handled.
But as far as our policies on euthanizing wild animals after attack, I don't think that is something that we can change.
Gary Brode, Denver 7.
A third trial is underway tonight for the man accused of hitting and killing State Trooper Cody Donahue in 2016. Noe Gomez Ruiz first went to trial in 2018. 2 days after opening arguments, a mistrial was declared because an expert witness gave an opinion that had not been previously disclosed. Then a year later, another mistrial was declared after it was found the prosecution withheld evidence. That led to a judge dropping the most serious charge of criminally negligent homicide, meaning Gomez Ruiz now faces only misdemeanors.
Well, the chief of Loveland Police is addressing a citizens advisory board right now on the detainment, arrest, and belittlement of Karen Gardner. 3 officers resigned last week that could face charges. Chief Robert Tyser said what happened to Gardner was a failure and not representative of his department. The Gardner family attorney was not impressed, saying this is very much Chief Tyser's department and that it's time somebody else called the shots.
Aurora Mayor Mike Hoffman wants a review of the police force to see if any jobs can be outsourced to civilians. Hoffman pointed to mental health calls and crash investigations as possibilities. The goal being to save money and allow officers to focus their attention elsewhere. We reached out to the police department for response, but have not heard back.
Well, the system that brought rain, snow, and this nice cold to the Front Range is finally moving out. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson has your forecast tonight. Mike?
This moisture's liquid gold, and we'll take it, even though it's not all that pleasant to be out when it's that cold and nasty. This is a view currently at Loveland Ski Area, where they picked up a few more inches of snow today. Look how green it is downtown Denver and the lawn of the state capitol. But a chilly late afternoon into the early evening, 42 currently, Fort Collins and Denver 45 in Greeley, and there's still quite a bit of shower activity around. Nothing that's heavy. Mountains get some snow. The snow level is generally about 6,500 feet, and it may drop a little bit tonight, but this storm is winding down a little bit, although we're not done with the unsettled weather for another day or two. So looking ahead, there'll still be showers tomorrow, and even looking ahead to Wednesday, but then Thursday and Friday will be absolutely fantastic with warmer temperatures coming up, followed by more rain. I'll have all of that in your 7-day in just a bit.
All right, thank you, Mike. Columbine High School had to scramble to avoid being shut down over the coronavirus. Several students got sick or were exposed to COVID over the last few days. So the Jeffco School District was considering sending everyone home until the principal convinced them to try a different approach.
Our principal and our admin team fought on Friday with multiple groups of people to stay open with the condition that we gave a rapid test to every person who was entering the building or that they had the vaccine. So we spent the whole weekend getting all that put together. We ordered hundreds of tests and they were delivered on Saturday morning, early afternoon. So kids started to pick them up on Saturday to Sunday at 3. They had to have their test uploaded by 3 p.m. yesterday.
36 Columbine students recently tested positive for COVID. 6 of those cases were detected through the rapid test administered this past weekend.
The New York Times reports herd immunity is now thought to be all but impossible in the United States. Experts originally believed vaccinating 60 to 70% of the population would be enough to achieve herd immunity. Then came the variants, and the goalpost moved to roughly 80%. And since 30% of U.S. adults appear unwilling to get their shots, we're likely to be living with the virus in one form or another for some time.
The idea is that this disease would tamp down enough to where it would be in the background. If we don't reach herd immunity, I think that's the worry, is that these huge surges that we see periodically are going to continue to occur. I don't know that even with herd immunity, that we will completely eradicate this virus from existence. But the idea is that then we have control over how it's spreading, or it's spreading at such a low level that it's not the first thing you think about in the morning is like, oh, where's my mask?
And this probably goes without saying, but 30% of U.S. adults doesn't mean 30% of Colorado adults. Certain states are doing much better than others in inoculating themselves against the virus. And Colorado is doing well. Wyoming, not so much.
And Governor Polis says masks will no longer be required in settings where up to 80% of people can prove they've been vaccinated. Businesses say this is another small step in the right direction, but could be more trouble than it's worth.
A little bit easier than everyday guests walking through, but it also places us in a very uncomfortable position of having to seek from our customers what many would construe to be fairly sensitive personal information.
Proof of vaccination includes your vaccine card, a picture of your vaccine card on your cell phone, or a copy of your immunization records.
Media literacy standards will be created for schools as part of a bill that advanced today by the Colorado legislature. Now, districts are not required to teach this. Those that do will be provided with resources to help children learn the difference between fact and fiction. The state wants more protections from gerrymandering when it comes to electing county commissioners.
And in a surprise to absolutely no one, Weld County isn't having it. Here with the story is Denver7 political reporter Megan Lopez.
It was a little more than 2 years ago voters passed amendments Y and Z to create independent commissions to redraw congressional and state boundaries. We've been talking about that for a while here on Denver7 and some of the complications the census delay created. But recently,
and this year,
Colorado lawmakers passed and Governor Polis signed a new law to apply some of those same restrictions to counties changing their district lines.
in previous law, there were really very few requirements for how counties redrew their districts.
Most counties have 3 commissioners who run things. Each runs on a county-wide ballot. 3 counties do not: Weld, Arapahoe, and El Paso. They have 5-member commissions where some run county-wide and others run by district. And drawing the boundaries for those districts is up to the same county commissioners.
They could do it however they wanted, with no recourse for the public if it was done in a partisan way or if it were done in a way that advanced the interests of a particular incumbent.
The new law changes that for 5 commissioner counties, requiring public hearings and a more transparent process, all in an effort to prevent gerrymandering. Only there's a catch.
You can have a home rule county, which then has the ability to set up the organization and structure of the county government.
Weld County has a home rule charter, and county lawyer Bruce Barker says it doesn't have to comply with the new state law.
To implement it, in my opinion, we'd have to ask the voters of Weld County to modify our charter.
Barker says the county is so confident they're welcoming a lawsuit over this.
We'd be able to defend it. And it's not a concern of mine.
They're wrong about that. Home rule for counties is very limited in its application.
Representative Kennedy says the state's legal staff came to a different conclusion. The law won't affect counties until their 2023 redistricting. For now, though, Weld County is once again challenging the state's power. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
Coming up,
we did a lot of work and now it's hurry up and wait.
restaurants wait to learn if they'll receive a lifeline.
Fingers crossed.